Let's talk about the next 5 years.
Welcome back to The Next 5 Years, a podcast where we skip the futuristic sci-fi theories and focus entirely on what's actually working for business leaders right now. Everywhere you look, the AI hype is deafening. Every tool promises to revolutionize your business overnight. But if you look under the hood of most small and mid-sized companies, the reality looks a lot different. It's messy data, expensive tool fatigue, and teams wondering how much of this is actually going to move the needle. If you want to know what's really it takes to integrate technology without breaking the bank, you have to talk to people actually doing the real plumbing. Our guest today is Kyle Burnett. Kyle is a former college professor turned technical strategist and the founder and instigator at Little Taller, a growth enablement agency and venture studio that helps businesses scale their strategic operations. Kyle and his team live in the trenches of CRM, the automation, and the tech infrastructure, building on platforms like Webflow, WordPress, HubSpot every single day. He sees exactly where small businesses are finding real wins with AI and where they are just throwing the money down the drain. Kyle, super excited to have a chat with you today. Welcome to The Next 5 Years.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here. And that's quite the introduction. Sounds great when you phrase it all that way. I feel very successful.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, let's set the scene, Kyle. Can you tell us a little bit about your background, what your company actually does from a high level, and your role in the business space?
Sure. We are an agency, which is a very broad concept. And like a lot of agencies, we cover a lot of area. I'm a generalist, so my team tends to be generalist as well. What we do quite effectively is anything really off of the design and development. So things that require thought, process-driven thought through design for development. That's where we live, which means across organizations, we are very heavily involved in marketing, a little bit more in sales than maybe some agencies. A lot of what we do in marketing, of course, drives to sales, but we spend a lot of time in and around sales technology and the tools that our client sales teams need. And then that spans a little bit over onto customer success or maybe product. So we tend to live right smack dab in the middle of our customers' organizations to help orchestrate what it is they're trying to get accomplished, because that sometimes is a struggle inside of the organizations of tying together sales, marketing, customer success, and product to achieve meaningful outcomes.
What's your role on a day-to-day basis in the company?
Oh my goodness, you're an agency, so you wear all of the proverbial hat wearing. This is still a real thing, but my role tends to be more in orchestration, even internal, helping my team work together effectively to help our clients get things done. So tends to be, for example, that I spend time with our client-facing team or my head engineers or my lead designers. I tend to spend time with them working partially on the structural components that we're working on for clients, how to set things up for and how to drive the projects we're working on for clients, and then how to continually improve the processes internally of our own practices. But I think you could find me on any given day spending probably about 75% of my time on Zoom talking to people and working through things. And that's either going to be clients or a team members, internal or a combination of.
Fantastic. Kyle, AI is everywhere at the moment. People like Bill Gates, they say that AI is probably the biggest thing they have seen in tech all their lives. What trends are you seeing in your industry in terms of AI?
I think I would phrase it probably two ways. I think from the marketing side, I see every company rushing to throw the letters AI into their pitch. And then from the product side, of course, trying to get that to catch up and follow along. So I think I see that companies are trying to move quickly to adjust to, especially because we work heavy with a lot of tech companies, a lot of software companies. So that shift is very real. It's impacting them. So it starts by impacting their marketing because they need to say it and then getting their product to also do it. In terms of us working directly with clients, designing, building, producing for them, for the marketing, sales, and CS and product teams. The AI is, I think the word that I would use there is chaos. It's a bit chaotic right now because everyone has instant access to tooling, whether official or more shadow IT. They have access to tooling. Everyone's using it in some fashion. And so it's just like a new person in the room at all times on every conversation. It's you, me, and Claude. It's you, me, and chat. It's also there. It's present. And and to some degree is playing the role of teammate and subject matter expert, but then is also generative and or part of the equation. So in many ways, that way I say it's chaos. In many ways, AI's existence is remarkably helpful, but is also remarkably disruptive.
That is correct. But let's address the elephant in the room first, Kyle. Your agency, Little Taller. Great name, by the way.
Thank
Uh,
you.
Your agency is all about strategic operations, the CRM, the content management system, CMS or automation, which is the plumbing of any business out there. Right now, small businesses are being told that AI can fix pretty much everything inside the business.
Sure.
From what you see from your clients today, what's actually working right now from their point of view? Or is actually things are really working out with AI, or it's a lot of that is just noise?
I'm old. I feel like I've seen a couple of iterations of this same thing before. I think the one that I'd point to probably is marketing automation. So if you back up to cloud, see Salesforce in the year 2000, and then the cloud needing to shift that, I got to experience that piece of that technology could leave IT and be in the hands of the users, like in marketing, for example, or in sales. The tooling started to move closer to the users. That was great. But it was an interesting shift. I think that closer to AI, though, is more marketing automation. The promise of automation sounded really interesting, or in customer success with great platforms that are out there. All of them had this great promise, but really what it was tooling that you as an organization still needed to use. You still had to methodically think out what you were trying to do. You still had to follow a process to set it up, organize it, get it in motion, analyze it, see if it's working, adjust and continue. And I feel like with AI, it's really the same thing. It's even less structured than what you were getting out of a structured marketing automation platform or a structured customer success platform. Now, what you're just getting is an unstructured AI that you can ask things of, but which helps accelerate. And I think that's what we wind up seeing with our clients is they're using it, but chaotically. So they'll use it generatively, or they'll use it to find information and drop that on you. So it's accelerating, which is great. It's accelerating the work that we're all working on together, but it's not doing it in an organized fashion. So I think what I'm seeing successfully happen with clients is that they can learn quickly about something like, let's just say, about AEO itself, about wanting to know how a chat knows about them and their company and how they're positioned inside of there. That moves so much faster than the world of SEO of how am I ranking and how do I improve that? That was a much more methodical, slow game. It seems to still be that you need a methodology in the game when leveraging AI in that way, but they don't quite know what they're doing yet. So I think there's a whole lot of what we're seeing is companies are figuring out sort of their own processes for implementing AI in various aspects of their business. And then what's shifting for us is figuring that out ourselves inside of here. And then we're all just sharing stories with each other currently of how we're doing it successfully, but not and figuring out what those patterns are. And so I think hopefully I'm answering the question there that we're seeing how helpful it is in answering questions, learning, moving things faster, organizing and on the generative side much faster. But that's it. It ends right there, and it's chaos if your team doesn't know how to use it, leverage it, implement it, and make it part of the people in the room or make it part of the workflows.
So most of these companies are spending a lot of money on maybe the tools and subscriptions and implementation, etc., all that kind of stuff. But it sounds like that's not everything is paying off. And not all small businesses, they are drowning in cash anyway at the moment.
Yeah.
So how should a business leader actually calculate the true ROI of an AI tool before going into their business, for example?
Oh, that's a great question. I've seen some really neat platforms come along that are trying to also help solve for two things. One is the visibility of your AI usage. And then the second would be trying to perhaps quantify that of like, how has it actually worked out? I saw a study the other day that was showing that, and the number was really high, I'll butcher it, but it was like 70% of surveyed companies are spending money on AI, but can't actually justify if it's done anything, which was a repeat of what we saw with automation. We're like, well, is it getting better? So if you don't have a beginning metric, you don't have anything to judge against. I know in my case, it's super anecdotal, even on my own team. My own team is saying, look how much faster I can summarize a meeting and reply to somebody. Look how much faster I can research something, come up with a plan, set up tasks, set up the team to accomplish something. And then we talk with our designers, how much faster are you able to produce quality design, or developers, how much faster? I had this conversation this morning with someone on my team about how would we know if the team is using Claude code, that what are they using it for? Data modeling, code construction, unit testing? Like, how would we know what they're doing? And how do we even begin to estimate the work and then judge that against what it was without it? So we're asking those questions internal ourselves to figure that out, but it's either anecdotal or it's on a real specific level, because I have a use case. I have a use case to know how long is it going to take to accomplish a task for a client? How much? And then we can ask the question of, is that faster or slower with AI? And then I can go look at my AI credits invoice and figure out the spend there. So I have a real specific use case. And I think perhaps for a lot of other businesses that we talk to or hear from, it's still largely anecdotal, that it's just individuals that are saying how much faster they can do things and get rid of stuff. How will that work its way up? I don't think we know yet. I think that may always be a bit disconnected on the human productivity from what's reportable on a C-suite dashboard. And probably what starts really coming from the top down on this is more like platforms that promise to be the brain of the organization, that promise to be that actually then will want to have tools in there to also self-justify their existence, that will be showing, look, using it produced this much outcome, produced this much improvement. They'll have to do that probably to justify the credit spend that's coming.
Yeah, so new technology always takes a while actually before people can figure out. I know I'm old enough to remember the 90s when internet came along. Internet was a totally new technology. AI, you could argue it's the evolution, but it's a massive evolution. But in 90s, it took them like a decade, maybe longer than a decade, just to figure out how to use the internet or the online. So yeah, it's going to take a while, so, as you're saying. So people are still experimenting, which is good.
But I could point to some specific weird examples I'm hearing outside of the business. To have my 80-year-old mother say, oh, I asked chat the other day. She's got chat and is asking chat questions like that. AI's TAM is every human on the planet, right? And so I'm already seeing that, or my wife talking to her mother about a medical condition or something and saying, we're talking to chat. I see how it's accelerating people basically it's replacing search. It's faster than search and it's faster than watching a video. So that's your point about the internet. Yeah, the internet was slow moving and then it started accelerating people's usage, and AI is accelerating even faster and then killing off parts of the internet that we cared about. I'm freaking out if I'm Google search, or if I'm like, I don't need either one of you. Chat's going to summarize this even faster for me. Or I watch my wife, who's a vet nurse who works at a clinic and works really close in the business operations. And they say that they've seen what's happened for them. They had their influx of resumes. The resumes coming in are so much better than ever before. And it's actually, and they can quantify this. They said, look, it used to be typo riddled. I wouldn't even interview these candidates because I thought you're an idiot. She goes, not everyone can write and spell check, and they don't need to write and spell check when they're a vet nurse. I'm like, that's not the job. The job is human skills and medicine skills and animal skills. And so that it's actually broadened their candidate pool to find even better candidates, because it leveled the playing field on essentially a test and a metric that was not important to the job. And so they can already prove, without even them spending the money on AI, they're like, AI has already improved our business and we're not even spending the money on it.
Wow, that's incredible. talking about the perfection side of things, if you like, all the resumes coming in, they're almost perfect candidates, which is incredible. You guys work with Webflow, WordPress, and HubSpot, as I mentioned earlier. Now, these platforms, Webflow, by the way, those people who are not aware, they actually you can build a website with them, and HubSpot is a kind of known for CRM system originally. They do other things as well. Now, these platforms, Kyle, they are now shipping with AI already baked in.
Yeah.
So I was curious, as a technical director of this agency and agency founder, why would clients need to hire an agency like yourself if they can do pretty much what they want with these platforms with that AI already baked in?
Great question. And I don't have, this is just an unfiltered true answer. And the answer is humans are always able to do anything, but they don't want to. They're going to pay somebody else to do it, especially Americans and in America and in corporate America. We will have, there's just two types of people. We'll have the client that you can't do any work for because they're like, I got this, I don't need you. And they're always just, they can do it on their own. Great, do it on your own. You don't need us. You never needed us. You never needed an agency to work on HubSpot. You can go watch the videos yourself, do it yourself. That's the whole point. It was a DIY platform for marketing. And yet marketing doesn't use it as much. They still pay agencies to do it. Salesforce, CRM, you knock yourself out. If you want to go figure out how to write some flows and learn some Apex class, most humans hired in corporate America have the aptitude for it. You know, they may not be technical. They may be like, oh, it may be a challenge, but they could do it. And so they're just not going to. And for one reason or another. And I would like to say on the optimistic side, not calling them lazy or whatever, but I think on the optimistic side, we're always trying to push things off to someone else to free us up to do something else. Why sit here and hand code an HTML email if you can drag and drop in HubSpot? But also, why drag and drop in HubSpot yourself if you can just have an agency do it and free your time up to do something else? So they always could have done it and they just didn't, and they rolled it downhill for one reason or another. So maybe it was technical, maybe it was they just didn't want to, maybe it was they had better things to do with their time. I think that's still the case even with AI. And sure, they could ask AI to design a landing page for them, but it's going to look like everything else right now. And so they have to then sit there and figure out how to be better prompt engineers, and they have to figure out how to tell it to do what they want. They have to learn a lot to get them to do that. And I think it's going to lead to the same outcome in the end. I think that you're still going to wind up having this division of the people who just don't want to do it, the people who don't have the time, or they just don't think they've got the ability to do it, and those who actually probably have something even better still to do with their time than prompt engineer.
So it sounds like it's a learning curve is not going to go away, which means agencies and consultants and those kind of people, they still aren't going to go away anytime soon, are they?
No, it just changes. God, we used to get paid a lot of money to hand code HTML emails, right? I go back to that because we got paid to hand code. We got paid to hand code everything. And then we got paid to use the platform to drag and drop. But then it just freed up our time to find other things to get paid for. And so I think it's going to be the same thing here. I think I think what we're positioning ourselves in like our secret sauce, and it's not a real big secret. We're just good at being nosy, injecting ourselves in the middle of departments and other places to orchestrate to help get stuff done. AI is not going to do that. Not yet. It's going to take a long time before AI is listening to every call across the whole organization and actually acting like forward thinking, truly agentic behavior and forward thinking. So that is still this huge gap that we have, and that we'll pretty much always have, is that having an organization that needs to be doing their jobs and running their business, building their product, servicing their clients, they've still got their things to do, but then also working inside of their business and then doing their own marketing and then building their own collateral for their own sales. All of that sort of internal works inside the organization still has to happen. You can always free that up and then free them to spend more time on more important things. And AI just means that you can do more faster. Okay. But again, they always could have done the work on their own. They never needed us to begin with. If they really, really had to, they could have done it on their own.
I totally agree.
But in the end, they'll still hire us for it.
I totally agree. I totally agree. Kyle, everyone wants to plug AI into their business for obvious reasons to make things quicker, easier, and save money. For example, they want magical insights into their customer data or make their sales pipeline more efficient and so on. But the data in most of these companies is a bit messy. It's disconnected. It's kind of everywhere. For example, some data might be in a half-configured kind of CRM, and some, from some financial data might be in a bunch of spreadsheets all over the place. Now, clearly, that is a problem for many of these small businesses, or any side businesses, really. But so when people talk about creating a foundational data infrastructure before they can even think about leveraging AI successfully, that data infrastructure in these companies before they can leverage AI, what does that kind of look like? Any ideas, any insights on that?
I think I would challenge the promise of AI, which is you tell me. That I think and I do think that's a benefit of AI, is that for any of us who have gone and had done a brain dump on ChatGPT, I do it all the time. I go in and I do a brain dump and I think, man, I didn't do a very good job at giving it, or gave it enough weird context. I probably didn't give it enough information to ask for the output. And it gives me the output. And I'm like, wow, that is way better output than what I set you up for. I think the same thing about data is that you just take Salesforce, for example. It's fairly structured. You have your standard objects, all of your custom objects, all your fields. You could do a discovery with the API, or maybe a more of an MVP, or sorry, a MCP will be a bit different. But anyways, you could always do a discovery. As a human, I could always just go audit it and see what they have and figure it out. I could have always written a script to do it. I think it's the same thing as just let AI look at it. It'll figure it out. Chat's already seen enough Salesforce instances. I've seen enough Salesforce instances. It's not really all that hard. So I think that probably the best bet would be to just challenge AI to read it and figure it out on its own. You tell me what I should change and make better. I've just recently done that very thing with my own accounting. I'm like, I want to make a change in my accounting practices and my accounting team. And so I took it back over. I'm cleaning up the books the way I want to report numbers and see things. And I'm just letting chat help me with that. I'm giving it the snapshot running outputs, and it's telling me what I should adjust and why. And I get to play. I'm very into the details and the numbers, but I'm not quite sure. So I let it do that. I didn't clean it up to feed it. I fed it as it was and then let it help me work towards shaping it to what I want to. I don't fully trust it, and I don't fully trust myself. So I get to go hand in hand. And I would probably do the same thing if I was looking towards my HubSpot and say my marketing funnel and my marketing activities and all that information. I want to treat AI like I would a consultant and go, here's the naked, dirty, not cleaned up truth. I didn't prep it. I want you to see it as it is, and then start to work with me and play the consultant role of how we would shape it to move forward and use it.
Talking about on the theme of data, the small businesses, they are usually very sensitive about their customer data. They're protected because it's their competitive advantage. But the data security is actually an issue, not necessarily the customer data, but all kinds of data in these companies. There is an issue. And then they don't have the kind of budget the big companies have. And they certainly don't have access to the legal teams, or they certainly don't have access to security kind of compliance teams or things like that. But things can go wrong with the world we live in today. So when you speak to the startups or the very small companies about the data protection, which is very important, then what would you say will be the absolutely non-negotiable rules they should follow to protect the data inside the business before they are going for AI implementation, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, that's a tough one. We worked with a company that was so rigid on security, you couldn't even get access to a single field in the CRM via the API to do the implementation integration that they paid us to do. It was literally a 4-hour project that drug out in 12 months, and then ultimately they killed it. And I'm like, I would be furious if I was their CEO. I was like, that security is so rigid, we can't even operate business. Yeah, that's an extreme all the way back over to no one cares. You just throw everything in the system and hope for the best. And that most things don't go wrong. So I think there's a balance obviously to be had. And I think that the non-negotiable I'm focusing on is probably more around the people and my practices with my people than I am with the technology. As I don't know, do I trust Sam Altman? I don't know Sam. I don't know him. I don't know Musk. I don't know any of these clowns. Like, I don't know. I don't know Benioff. I don't know, is Salesforce. So I think as long as what I'm using is standard platforms that a lot of people are using, I feel pretty good about that. So I don't use any of the hot newest thing that just popped up that's random that's out there. So I probably want to trust some of the more known players. I definitely want to check out the terms and conditions and security practices and make sure that what goes in we still own and that it's gated. I want to know about that. I want to be cautious of what I connect and plug in. I've seen that on my organization here is that anyone on the team is just like, I'm going to SSO with my Google account. And I was like, I think that's a bad, reckless idea. Everything runs off of your email, everything everywhere. So I think I would just be real cautious about which platforms that you use, what plugins that you use, which things that you connect to each other. I would just try to stay very mainstream on that. If you don't have time to go real deep into it, stay mainstream and be real cautious about what you do drag in and inform AI about, because ultimately we don't really fully know, even though they say we're not training based on the data you share, we're training on everybody else's data. I'm not sure I believe it, but
You're talking about, so you're talking to your people in your organization, your company, a little taller, you guys are famous, if you like, for saying that you are built on the teaching hospital model,
yep.
which actually means that hiring the rock star students right from the college and teach them or train them into the business world. Now, this young generation, they are very comfortable with the AI tools around them. Business leaders often talk about the AI skill gap. And there are all kinds of people that talk about reskilling the workforce to fill that gap going forward. What's your view on the grads coming out of the college? Since you are also a professor, academic, what's your view on those new kids coming out of the college? Are they really helping close the AI gap? The reason I'm asking that is because they might be very comfortable with the technical AI tools, but are they also very technical? Do they actually get the business operations straight away when they actually start working with the small businesses and how to use those tools to make those operations better and efficient and so on? Or do they have a learning curve?
Great question. I think what's so interesting is how quickly this shifted. So when we started this in 2018, so 2019 was our first full year. So gosh, we're getting pretty old here. But when we first started this, what I liked about the youth was like their creativity, the ideas that they had, they were unencumbered by knowledge, right? But they were also crazy quick to adapt to any technology we put in front of them. So it wasn't like, and while working like with the university a bit and subject matter expert in certain areas, it was a real challenge because I was thinking like we work in B2B tech and Jesus, how do you get a college kid to give a crap about Salesforce? I'm like, of all the wonky technical little things, I just thought these aren't cool enough. Like they're not going to be interested. No, it's challenges put in front of them and they can go learn it. It's not hard. And I think that I would underestimate it. I thought, oh, my years of experience was like, I would never be able to shrink that down and then put that into somebody so quickly. Not true. They pick it up so fast. I saw that when suddenly I'm grandpa over here who doesn't know about the newest tech, the newest platform, the newest thing. I'm on some old phone. I don't have the thumb dexterity they do. I think that there was so much about their youth that wound up being that I think people discounted. They thought, oh, we'll never be able to get like enough business knowledge in them fast enough. But I think that the tech flipped that and actually made them way more valuable. I think the irony right now is watching reports, and I know especially on engineering side, is that new hire jobs are down like 20% year over year, some number like that. My dad shared with me the other day. My dad forwards me AI knowledge and things literally every day. But seeing that the intro jobs in certain areas are really getting impacted because the sort of intro work you can automate away. But I think on the flip side, what I see is that that AI and the technology is so much more accessible and doesn't have to be taught in school. The kids are all sharing it with each other and learning it all on their own and figuring it out all faster, that they're actually not showing up here. We're not thinking, oh gosh, did they get trained on HubSpot while they were in college? I'm like, dude, I don't need that. Go here, take a week and go learn HubSpot. What do you want? I think that the education I know is shifting on trying to get them to know more business knowledge, less on the technical skills, that exact things that you would need, because they can pick that up on their own and it's going faster, or coaching them more on the soft skills that they would need, which is way more important than the hard, fast technical. So I think the education is shifting a bit. And then the kids that we pull out, the ones that we are impressed with and that we work with and have done very well, have been here for 8 years, longevity with us. We're all ones who had high aptitude, high technical skills, crazy flexible, and a ton of amazing soft skills and a good sense of business, lacking experience. And they wind up, honestly, they're the ones right now that are driving our process and that are driving all the change. It's not me. I might be from a business perspective saying, do more AI, go faster with AI. I'm this ignorant C-level person barking that down to the kids, who then I roll it and they're like, we got it, grandpa. But they're the ones who are actually figuring out the patterns and the paths forward of whatever technology is in front of them, of how to make their life easier, better organized, and faster.
When you guys implement new AI tools, the automated tools, the workflows inside those small businesses, your clients, things can go wrong. They can go wrong. They do go wrong. But usually, my experience is, or my observation is, that things go wrong. It's not because of technology, it's usually the people. And I think that's because they resist change. After all, if AI can do their job, then they won't be needed and they'll be displaced possibly. So there is a kind of the resistance, isn't there, for that? And that's why things can sometimes go wrong. So in that scenario, I'm really curious to learn from your experience, your insight. How do you coach the CEOs or the business leaders to handle that kind of cultural resistance within those companies so that things can continue to go as they should be?
That's a great question. I think that's going to exist probably at all times, that you're going to, especially as an agency, when you're the agency that's brought in, there's a reason why you're brought in. It's either expertise or it's production. So either you have expertise that they feel like they lack internal, or you have bandwidth and ability to produce that they don't feel like they have internal. And sometimes, and I've been on the other side of the fence, I've been the marketing guy inside of the company, but they brought the agency and I felt like insulted by it. I got this. I don't need those guys. And sometimes that you're going to have that probably as the outside person brought in, no matter what era, no matter what technology is there. And so I don't think that's changed because of this. I think that it's actually what's different now than before is we were probably brought in with technology from some C-level brought down, where they were saying, guys, I've heard about this CRM thing. I've heard about this marketing automation thing. I've heard about this customer success thing. I've heard about this. Somebody on the top level says, bring that in. And now it feels like that's been shifting over the years, where it's more like a RevOps role wants to bring technology in to speed things up, that it wasn't like a C-level person saying, hey, what are we doing? And on our data practice, it's actually somebody else bringing it from the bottom up. I feel like that's happening a lot more. Same thing that we just answered with the students, bringing in more tech, bringing in more ideas, that they're moving. It's the tech and availability and information is moving at a speed where everyone has access, and it's more of a groundswell of change than it is a top down one, which is great because it reduces friction. It doesn't. It just changes the direction of the friction. And so I think right now, organizations that we're seeing that we work with, it's really more of a team members are trying to play within the security scopes and the rules that they have internal, more so than they are themselves are the friction to implementation of something. They're trying to implement when there's friction in the organization up, as opposed to the top down saying implement, and the frictions on the people on the bottom not wanting to implement.
We have AI has been in the wide world since probably 5 years now, give or take. We have already seen the wave of generative AI, which, in other words, the one that generates content. And now we are starting to see agentic AI, which is the agents who will do certain tasks from generative, now moving into agentic. So what do you think will be the single biggest opportunity for small businesses if you see beyond the horizon, maybe in the next 3 to 5 years going forward?
I think what they'll benefit from is probably something we'd all benefit from is a bit of homogenization of platforms and technology. For example, if I'm a small business and I'm needing to do some marketing efforts, I have to think out what I'm trying to achieve. I have to think out what I should be doing. Let's say some level of marketing I should be doing. Then I have to plan it, create it, develop it, launch it, send it out, analyze it. And the tech to do all of that has always felt like fractured. There's design tools, there's email tools, there's CRM mark automation tools, there's analytical tools. And those platforms all had their lanes. They all played well together. Some of them tried to get a little bit bigger and do more. I think that's accelerating right now really big. Because if I'm, for example, Figma, if I'm the design platform, design to code, they show you code and then there's AI. So why design so much? Why write so much code? Then there's Framer, your website platform, or there's HubSpot. That's the platform. You're trying to get designs to that. There's this natural like scale that's happening there where those platforms are like, with a little bit more engineering, you don't need that other platform. You can keep it all here. I think that the tooling is still disconnected enough that production is a challenge. It's a challenge for small businesses working with us, who's an agency who does each of those steps. And even we're trying to go, how do we consolidate that to do more faster in one smoother motion, less disjointed between humans and between technology? So I see that in our own world. And I think that's the same thing that's going to be really beneficial to small businesses is when, and I hate this too, because I know what'll happen is one platform, HubSpot, for example, will do more, but then it will just do more. It'll cost more. And at the same time, it won't necessarily do all of the components of that really best of breed, but it'll be good enough. And so will you get a good, that will be the most beneficial thing is when they're getting good enough output, holistic, like 360 work around an effort out of one platform with less people, less talking, less back and forth, less iteration, less tools all connected, less invoicing of which tool did which thing and what am I paying for. That's when I think that's when we'll see the benefit. Is that more agentic or is that not necessarily? That's probably just more, just getting more things done with less tooling.
But that could be a great benefit, but also could be a great headache because if one platform will be able to do everything literally for you, that means actually you're tied into that one platform.
Yeah. And then you're really also tied to it. But there's always that fear. None of us we can't do any business if our internet's not up and running. So we all have single points of failure throughout the process at all times. Yeah, there's some good side to that. There's some downside to that. I think that, and that's just that's a very tactical answer that of tying tools together to do each of those jobs. I think if you pulled it back out broader, I think what really starts to benefit organizations is when, and this is where I think some of the cool AI tooling is going to come along, is that if I'm a small business owner, like I'm an MSP, I'm managing services like Microsoft services for franchises, and I've got a team managing infrastructure, their point of sale software, and I've got my ticket system, fielding tickets for things they need, and I'm helping with their email and their system access. That's a real tactical existence inside of there. But running that as an MSP, I've got all these other business concerns and things that I have to do and know about, and I have to manage budgets and how do I hire this? How do I hire that? I think that there's the platforms that will help people run their own business, that will help them focus on their numbers, their objectives, what they need, that you'll have little mini agents in there that you would talk to about your marketing, talk to about your ops, talk to you about your HR, your legal, your compliance, that instead of having your board and of people and of roles, I think that those platforms will become really helpful. And I think that they will. Mark Cuban was talking about this the other day, that they'll become really specialized. And so there'll be one platform that will be way better to use because it's very specialized for you, for your type of business, whether you're in a dentist office. And so it's the AI that you want to use because it manages all these components of your dentist office better, or your franchise, or your software, your startup SaaS software company, or whatever it is. I think that as those platforms keep coming online and maturing, we will go from this super broad AI's out there, just talk to ChatGPT will help you, to you'll find verticalized, very broad feature wise, but very verticalized platforms. I think that will be really helpful because I think that will eliminate a lot of the confusion that still exists of how do I use this within my organization.
Yeah, talking of growing or maturing, if you like, where do you see it a little taller, your agency, in the next 3 to 5 years?
It's always been really tough to project and think about just because we're hustlers. We like to design and build and like to solve problems. So I think that we'll probably still be doing exactly what we do, consulting, designing, and developing solutions. I think that it'll still be creative. A good friend of mine, she said this the other day about AI and marketing in general. She goes, there's always going to be this space for somebody making a decision of taste. She says, do you really, or at what point are you going to trust AI's taste? That's I would say it's a creative statement, but it's also probably more of even just a technical and just a worldly statement that we're, as humans, yeah, we're just simply consuming information, seeing patterns, and then coming up with thoughts and putting them back out based on patterns. And maybe some of it's original, maybe it's not, who's to say? But AI is doing the same thing. And I think that 3 to 5, ideally, we're experts based on experience and output, and that people trust our opinion. As another friend of mine, Matt, likes to say, he goes, we're basically paid for our opinion. And so I think what we'll be doing is that the team will be the tastemaker, the people helping coach that of between the clients and between the tooling of taste and decision making of, what you're trying to accomplish, how you're trying to accomplish it. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it working? And probably obviously in a more humanistic approach to that. And I do think that kind of shifts into the future thought. I still think that what is super valuable in the future, and this may not be a great answer for the 8 billion people on the planet, but is an artisan approach, that what will be a natural kickback to just this generic AI world will be a human touch. Before the robot wars fully happen, there will be people who just don't want to talk to a robot. They will want to talk to a human. That you're still going to have that. They're going to want an expert, and they're going to want an expert opinion. They're not necessarily going to love the idea that they could talk to your chatbot, your agent. They want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to my doctor's agent. I want to talk to my doctor. I think that still is going to exist. I think it's going to be really important for practitioners such as ourselves to be highly personable, very organized thinkers, methodical presenters of information, to be the trusted practitioner.
It's you guys are relatively young, if you like, as a company. In 2018, you mentioned it's not even 10 years, about 8 years as we speak. So it sounds like you're coming a long way. So you have quite a few clients. So I'm assuming they are all over the place. How are you growing? How are you getting the word out at the moment?
We were born out of a partnership with my software company I co-founded called Allbound. It's a PRM, partner relationship management platform. It's since merged into a channel scaler. That was our primary, we were selling right next to it. That would be like launching your agency right next to HubSpot as it was building and going. It's like we had that pond to fish. We had a lot of work to do around there, and then you land and expand. But otherwise, like most agencies, straight up referral. We live and die by do great work for the companies that we work for, hopefully expand that to do more, and then get referred from there. And that has worked well for us over the last 8 years. That, for example, working deeply with Gainsight, who we still work with, right in the middle of all of their project management, in the middle of all of their departments, people leave, go to another company, will eventually call us to say, hey, we've got this project or this need. So I think we're 3 or 4 generations deep on a couple of relationships. I think that's going to stay the same thing. We cobbler's kids problem as an agency that does marketing. We don't do much of our own marketing. We still live and die by the referral. I think my biggest concern for the future for this agency is, what are the kids going to do with it? Because it is a fairly classic model of, I'm 55 this year. I'm out in a couple of years. I want to be done. And so I want to transfer the company store to the kids who've been working here, keep going. So they keep running with it and keep going. And that is a bit, I think, probably like a lot of business leaders, any given day, you look at it and you're very optimistic of the future and the talent and the technology. And then you all of a sudden flip from that to despair of like, none of us are going to be needed. AI kills all this off. So I think that in answering the question, hopefully in a long way, it's an interesting combo of how we got here, how our clients find us, how we work with them. And then ultimately what I'm very optimistic about in 3 to 5 years is that this team is the trusted experts and they don't need me, that the clients are calling them back when someone leaves and goes to another company, they call that them, not me. So every single day that more of my team is being the expert talking to humans, leveraging that technology, I'm more optimistic about the future of this and frankly, just of services and how humans can be of service to each other when technology, according to the headlines, threatens that.
I see. I sometimes wonder, we talk about this AI thing, and that has been a general theme of this conversation. All the businesses, all the small businesses or medium-sized businesses, they have access to the exact same AI tools, to write their emails or write the web copy or even write their code and run their marketing, pretty much everything. So sooner or later, everything is going to start looking the same. So how does a company maintain the uniqueness or maybe the brand identity or keep the competitive moat? Any insights on that?
That's a fun little rabbit hole because, yeah, I do think it's leveling the playing field. I do think AI is a bit of an equalizer, like we mentioned with the resumes, that is leveling the playing field, giving more people the chance an at bat that they weren't getting before. So I love the leveling of the playing field on that. I love the opportunity that creates. I think we are going to go through a phase, like you said, that of homogenization where everything looks and feels the same. Even now, our clients, we had 2 or 3 projects recently with AI companies. So we were helping produce their web properties. And whether we did design, they did design, they bring in ideas, whether it was a short engagement, long engagement, if anyone was handing designs in that were AI generated, they all felt the same. We already know websites are largely all the same. They all follow the same design patterns for good reason. They're all doing the same thing. And then your job is to stand out, to differentiate. AI is going to figure that out too. It will eventually give you less. It'll start to do that. But to what end? I don't know. That becomes that crazy spiral of a loop of if AI is reading all of your competitors and then adjusting your messaging and pushing the content and the changes out, their AI is doing it as well. So you're going to be in this never ending loop of AI fighting AI to differentiate itself. Anyways, that's the only place that my mind keeps going to every time I go. Eventually, then the humans won't even be here. And AI BDR will reach out to AI buyer. They'll negotiate it and then get the machinery moving. But until then, I think that it's probably okay for a while that company A looks a lot like company B. It's okay. As long as what you're getting out was better than what you had before, it's okay. And if it looks a lot like the competition, it's okay. Worry about the differentiation later. Just be better. If you're better tomorrow than you were today, then you're doing okay. You'll work your way up and AI will work its way up to help you then branch off where you need to branch off and differentiate.
It's a great conversation. Kyle, I could go on forever, but I'll have to be respectful of your time. But before we wrap up, what's one key of advice you would give to the other CEOs or the business leaders who are trying to maybe implement AI, bring the AI into their companies to make things easier, better, etc., or going forward? So what would you say they should be doing or should be looking out for?
I think it depends on where they're starting from. If they're still starting from scratch and they're not sure, I think also just ask AI. Create a project and chat and start having a conversation. Get it about your business, who you are, what you do, who your team members are, who your competitors are. Just start talking to it treat it like a consultant and let it start to understand who you are, the pain points that you have, and just have that conversation with it. That sounds crazy and culty, but that's a great place to start. And then I think if you already have it in the organization, I think of it just like any other tooling, technology practice, or whatever else, if you've got some people on your team, task them with it. You probably, as a CEO, have a lot of things on your plate, a lot of things you're worried about. If you can, send this out to the team, let the team come back, challenge them with what do we have now in terms of tooling and technology, jobs, roles, and responsibilities, and how does this fit in? And maybe it's something as simple as we've been doing, which is looking at job descriptions and having chat help us rewrite job descriptions and keep those up to date around the job and how the job morphs and changes with technology. We would not hire a designer right now unless they are proven to be doing prompt design. So we had to update our job descriptions internally and the job postings to basically state towards that. We didn't do that on our own. We did that because we've been having the conversation with Chad about who we are, how we operate, who our customers are, the type of work we do, how we're leveraging tech. We let it also coach us. So I think either start there by firing up ChatGPT or Claude, starting a project and starting to feed that conversation in to get comfortable with it, let it help you, or just task it straight out to the team and let the team come back and tell you.
That's very, very interesting, actually. And it's a very powerful takeaway. It's very obvious for obvious reasons, but it's a great reminder as well. So thank you for that. So it also perfectly, I think, summarizes the challenges many businesses are facing. And this is how they should actually go about doing that. So thank you for your thoughts today, Kyle. Finally, those listeners who want to learn more about your company, who you are, where you are, and just want to say hi, how do they get in touch with you?
Of course, you can always find us at littletaller.com, just the two words, and like you would think the way they're spelled. And so littletaller.com, of course, you can always find us on LinkedIn and see what our company's up to, or check out our team members and who they are and the areas that they specialize and focus in. And I think probably the best thing is just to look at the trust factor, look at the size of companies, the logos, and the things that we work with and our varied experience. Maybe we can be helpful.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Kyle. And I wish you the very best of luck for your company going forward. And really enjoyed having a chat with you today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's very useful. And I'd love to do it again where I can ask you a lot of questions and say less words myself.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.